Hello, dear learners. How are you? I hope you all are safe and fine at your places. And I believe that you're doing well in terms of learning. Today, we are going to learn the last topic of the chapter, role of speech therapist. It is the ability methods and strategies for making physical education or physical activity accessible for CWSN. As you all know, we are dealing with the chapter physical education for CWSN, and this is last part of number 9 of it. What it is, students? So, physical education for CWSN is basically meant for education for the CWSN, education for the child with special need. CWSN basically means the education for the CWSN, that is the children with disabled children, the Divyang children. We can't say something to them. We call it the special children because they have some special needs. Got it? So accordingly that we need to work on it. Basically when we talk about them, so their motor development is not accordingly as the normal child has. So now we need to see what are the variations in a normal children and that children, and why we need to understand, why we understand this topic, so there's a need to understand this. So here we need to understand that a normal children has a great vision and all senses working properly. But if we think that CWSN might have a problem with the sensory organ, as you all know the disability of 3 types. First is physical, second is sensory, third is cognitive or learning disability. So if an individual having a sensory problem, it means any problem which affects his sense organ may lead him to some problem, some kind of problem while receiving responding information. So the second thing is learning or cognitive disability. So whenever we learn or think about this learning or cognitive disability, this disability is basically meant for the memory problem, memory resulting, intellectual process, thought process. So these processes are affected on that time. Third, that is the physical development or physical impairment. It means any of the physical system like your leg, like the limb, upper limb or maybe the lower limb is affected. So while dealing with this kind of children, we need to be expert in some particular things. Before this lecture, we had already studied about OTs, occupational therapists, special educators, physical education teachers. Now today we are going to learn about the role of speech therapist. Speech again will just come with the help of this voice box, a tongue, and so many things. What is tongue? Tongue is a muscular organ, right? So out of a sense organ, the tongue which gives the test of sensation of test, right? So speech is again a very important topic. You cannot express your emotions, you may have to face some social ongoing problems when your speech is not there. Symbolic language is generally prescribed for this speech problem, and sometimes deaf people, for them they also have a speech language, that is for speech problem we have some symbolic languages which are as more difficult as other subjects. So today we are going to first deal about this speech therapist. What is the role of a speech therapist? So speech therapists, these people have a great job in school and institution, or a lot of institutions have recommendation of it, because see, when the people become having kind of impairment in the body, it's become the life challenging part for him to do daily activities, to perform any school or any activity which is going on around it. It becomes possible or sometimes it becomes impossible for him to perform that particular small task. So doing a small task becomes effective challenging, or it's become a challenging time for him to do. So for that, the special educators, these OTs, this speech therapists, these people are there for helping them out. Because that person, they also have some dreams, they also want to do something, they also have some emotions, they also want to do a great job in terms of future perspective, they are also very goal oriented. They have some emotion, they also want to fly, they have also dreams, they also want to have the drift of flying with the dreams in the sky. They also want to have some name and fame, like Einstein, like Albert Hawking, like Stephen Hawking, like Alan Keller. These are some names which done a great job. Indeed, they are after having such a kind of disability. So let's learn how what is a speech therapist. Speech and language therapy is very important see when we were a little boy or a little girl, right? So our mothers know everything by our expressions. Whenever we cry, she knows that we need water or we have done some kind of problems. Or we are feeling some kind of things. So in speech therapist, the role of a speech therapist is basically to understand the children with a special need. Now, how to understand a children with a special need? So, speech therapist people have a symbolic language. They allow them to communicate. So, you see here, speech is language. So, when we talk about language, it's a medium to communicate. So, challenging part is to communicate. So, they deal with that. Speech and language therapy is concerned with the identification. Now, to identify anything, to tell, describe, to explain anything, identification is more important. How to identify, how to know that other people is understanding. That's where the speech therapist was work. Assessment part. Now, what about this assessment part? How to assess them? The normal child will assess it properly. But how do you assess this kind of children? Where the speech therapist people will work. Assessment, communication. Communication skills should be there in each and every individual. It's playing a very, very important role in terms of understanding children. So, communication, the way to communicate, to express their emotions, they generally use the symbolic language for the communication purpose. And engulfing the needs of children, now see when this problem is with the little baby or a boy or a girl, so a mother can easily think. But later on, as in when this child grown up, the situation, the problem become embarrassing. The problem where we have some ongoing social problems, some behavioral problems, and maybe a various kind of problem with these children in their life. Sometimes maybe a kind of stress, tension, sometimes a kind of depression. So basically, we need to understand that when the children is small, a mother can see everything. But a mother can't be every time with him when he grown up. So wherever he grown up, some medical aid, some aid by the doctors or the expert doctors or the speech therapists, they modify their body, they allow them to learn new things which help them to communicate and survive in the society. So they give the page them to understand what is the motivational part and they understand what is the urge or what is the worth of life, right? So this when we talk about this speech therapist, so these people they are widely engaged with the children, with these young children, this adult. So basically, what they do, they allow them to understand their true potential. They allow them to communicate properly. They support them and they give a kind of speech therapy to them so that they can do the things accordingly. They work closely with the collaboration with parents, teachers, nurses, occupational therapists, that is OTs, and doctors, expert doctor, etc. So they are working closely with all of things. They are supporting them, they are evaluating them, they help them to assess, and they perform various kind of tasks. They work closely with the parent, remark my words, teachers, nurses, OTs, and doctors. Speech and language therapists play their role in supporting, nourishing the future of CWSN. See, when CWSN, this problem occurs, when I see this word, it means you understand which kind of ongoing problem going on in the mind of individual. Because doing a life day-to-day activity, he or she is facing a lot of problem. So how to deal with that situation, how to respond it, and will have to adapt also. So the adaptation parts will definitely the speech therapist people help them to adapt by knowing them, by teaching them the various aids, various things to cope up in the society and be expressive. So that is SLCN. Special or this child, so we have speech, language and communication need. So basically, what should I told you is that this speech therapist, these are some peoples who support, who help the children which having the speech and language communication needs. Basically, when the speech is the problem, so speech and language communication need, this full form is very important, so you marked it SLCN, speech, language and communication need, right? So they are working in collaboration with parents, teachers, nurses and OTs as well as expert doctors, so the all-round development of an individual can be done. So speech and language therapy is a concern with identification, assessment, support of speech, language, communication, so that the children can grow up properly, their development can be done properly, and for sure the worth, the potential can be adjusted too. So I hope you understood this concept. Now the next thing that we are going to learn is, so we are going to understand the role of a speech therapist. We had already had a conversation about it in depth. It means the speech therapist, these are people who are basically working for the improvement in the speech or the delivery, that is the content. When communication problems, these all problems can be sorted out. I hope you understand this term, right? So basically when we talk about this speech therapist, they provide necessary information to the classroom teachers prior to a child entering into the general education classroom regarding the student disability, medical concern, equipment operation, way to meet unique needs. These speech therapists collaborate with the general education teachers in adaptation to the curriculum, providing appropriate modifications, ensuring the implementation, modification, and ensuring all over performance of the child. Got it? So, whenever we deal with this CWSN, or I say children with special need. So, children with special need, it means basically we are talking about the children who are needed the exclusive education, inclusive education, experiential learning. The involvement is very important there, right? So basically, the speech therapist. A speech therapist is also called a language pathologist, which give the path to learn the language. SLP, speech language pathologist. Simply, speech pathologist work with communicative and speech disorder, which may be speech and a lingual issues problem with slurring the voice, cognitive communication. The role and responsibilities of a speech therapist are, let's see the first role. Okay, what is the first role of a speech therapist? The very first role is to diagnose the abstract type of speech disorder. It means the very first thing that a teacher should which kind of a speech disorder is it and the student is suffering from. There are many types of speech disorder, right? When we talk about this speech disorder, so whole lot of things are there, like including this type of speech. So I'll say involving language problem, articulation, fluency, frequency, resonance, and slowing the word. A speech disorder may be inherited or sometimes it may be occur after birth. It may be causes by the neurological damage brought by traumatic events in the body, right? So, to plan a process of treating a disorder and then to work closely. So basically this speech therapist peoples, they first plan out, they chalked out the things, they diagnose the problem, and then they decide what to do, how to overcome the things. So basically when it's a neurological problem, when it's a traumatic type of problem, so they have to handle it accordingly, right? So here this to plan the process of treating the disorder and then to work closely with the student and monitoring the progress once the treatment begins. So as and when the treatment begins, they plan, they schedule out the things, how to deal with the children, right? So that they can understand the children as well and they can know how far the things are going on better and they can at least check the level is up, down or in progress. So the process of treating the disorder and then work closely for the student and monitoring his or her progress once the treatment begins. Second thing, a lot of consideration, a lot of modification, in the curriculum, in the studies, so that they can deal with these children with special needs. To make consideration for personal, social, emotional, academics, vocational needs associated with the student educational goals. So first goal is to educate them. Second is to sometime this inclusive education lead them to understand their personal academics, enhance their personal academics, lead them for the all-round development, need their soul, understand their social needs, their emotional temperaments, what is their academics, how the vocational needs he or she is needing, what is the nature, what is the behavior of other people live with him. So this thing really matters when this disabled children's gonna start something new. So these all things should be in the mind while doing work accordingly. So to make consideration for the cultural and the environment factor. Now what about this culture? See, when especially when the children having some kind of problem in their mind, they will have to, we need to understand their potential, we need to understand their culture, their background, we need to know everything. Then we need to act accordingly. To know the children first, it's a very, very important thing. If we know the children well, properly, then we can deal with the children in a proper manner. So, to make consideration for the cultural and environmental factor that might have contributed to the disorder. So then and then we will be understood that this disorder is just because of that. So now you need to understand what is disorder. Disorder is a state of mental confusion. Disorder is what? It is the state of mental confusion, and it contributes to the device treatment strategies. It gives us a kind of strategies to plan out, to understand what is the problem going on with the children and how we can manage or how we can act accordingly, so that the level, the performance, the potential of the individual will be enhanced and can be understood as well. There are a lot of strategies which help them, the student, to assess the things, and really they can do that. So, to work along with special education teachers, clinical psychologists, sometimes occupational therapists, audiologists, physiotherapists, so the treatment of the student will be inclusive, will be fruitful. How these things will be fruitful and inclusive? When involvement of children will be there, when we allow the children to do the things by themselves, it means giving a kind of exposure to them will definitely help them to understand things properly. Alright, so I want to understand the types of things that they really needed. So basically, the speech and the language therapist or the therapies concerning with the identification, assessment, support, speech and language, communication and surveying the needs of children, young people and adults. They work closely with the parents, careers and with the professionals such as teachers, nurses, occupational therapists, a doctor. A speech and language therapists play a very important role in supporting you and the people for the speech and communication needs. Basically, a speech and language therapists, they play a very important role in supporting the school, in supporting the children to meet the needs of the children with a special need. CLSN, special, that is this called the special children. So speech, language and communication need. It is supporting a good practice across the universal, targeted and speech approaches, so that the continuity between these different kinds of areas will be nurtured. They have distinct role in ensuring, planning, delivering, evaluating and support the children. Young people with a range of speech, language and communication need, SHT play a key role in diagnosis of children with different speech, language and communication needs. Got it? So this is about this role of speech therapist. Now the second thing that we need to understand is, we need to understand that the speech therapist people have a great kind of thing. Now let's start with this next point, and the next topic is disability educators. What is the disability etiquettes? Disability etiquettes are a set of guidelines which help us to treat the people who have a disability. Now, what is this different kinds of disability etiquettes? As you all know, a mental kind of confusion or any kind of impairment in the body is called disability and disorder respectively. So, disability is a kind of impairment. So, let's say that this impairment is cognitive, it means related to the mental progress. Then it becomes a problem if you help them. When an individual is facing the daily life challenges, the day-to-day life challenges in the daily routine, then he or she becomes so cranky, the behavior is different, and it is very important to understand their needs. Because see, when children got this kind of disability, they are not shuffled, they are totally distracted sometimes. So we need to understand their needs and need to act accordingly. If we talk about the four major terms, the physical development definitely affected, the social development definitely affected, emotional prospect will definitely affected, and psychological needs. So his or her psychological needs are disabled, the special children's psychological needs is different as we compare it to the another one, that is the normal one. We need to understand the thing very effectively that disability hampers someone, because in society so many things are there, so many parameters are there to understand them. So this disability directly help them, or somehow they don't, I don't say help, it hamper them. Then they have kind of mental confusion, and what is the next thing they have? They got such a kind of problem, some ongoing problems. It may relate to the social, see the behavior, the pattern, the thing, the thought process will definitely affect it, right? So disability etiquettes we majorly discussing. These are the set of guidelines. What are it? Disability etiquettes are the set of guidelines which help us to treat or deal with the children with special needs. So let's understand a very crucial thing. This is very important, because when a child has a disability, definitely the overall performance will start. And let's see how these things happen. And what the major cause of it we also need to know. Right? So disability etiquettes are a set of guidelines dealing efficiently with how to approach the people having disability. Because when people having disability, their total mental temperament is disturbed. So first thing, as you can see here in the board, the very first thing is talk directly. When talking with a person directly, with a disability, speak directly to the person rather than thought a companion or a sign language. Right? So we need to understand that we should go for talk directly to the individual. Cut, it means I want to say here is that is the perfect way to talk is to explain things properly, to understand things properly, and let the things be clear so that he or she can understand the things properly. Okay, so very first thing is to talk directly. Offer handshake. Now when I am saying offer handshake, it means the thing is that we must offer them to handshake so that they can understand our needs, we can understand their needs, and their physical, mental, their social temperament can be built. Got it? So offer to shake hand helps them to feel good, and the personality I hope can be maintained. Right? So here, first thing that we need to understand that sometimes see people having problems, ongoing social problems. So sometimes they may have a state of mental confusion. Sometimes treatment is going on, medication is going on. So this disability etiquette are such kind of things which help us to understand this kind of children well. So very first thing is talk directly, clearly. Second thing is offer to handshake. Whenever you introduced to a person with a disability, it's become so appropriate to offer and to shake hands. People with limited hand use who wear artificial limbs can usually shake hands Shaking hands with the left hand is acceptable greeting. Okay, so here we need to understand that we must follow some norms to treat or to deal with these children. These children that really when they do these things, they energize and they feel good, as we do the same things with a normal person. So why don't we change our manifesto, our way to dealing with things? Let be ocean, open, extroversion, conscientiousness, agreeable, and neurotransmitter things. So explain before conversing any visual impairment. So if you want to tell something, if you want to show something, if you want to have a work, you must explain them well that what you exactly want to go for, what you exactly want to talk in. If you offer resistance, wait until offer is accepted. To help them, to instruct them, to understand them is very important. Please ask before you help. So whenever you help, you want to help someone, you must ask him that he or she is needing your help or not. Right? So when meeting a person who is having visual impairment, always explain or identify yourself. Explain yourself and other who may be with you. Okay, so that he or she have a kind of mindset in that temperament that yeah, that is that person and to whom she is talking is someone. Right? So when conversing in a group, remember to identify a person whom to you is speaking, so that the myth cannot be maintained or addressed there. Don't touch or lean on wheelchair. So never ever try to touch their wheelchair or lean somewhere or do something to feel them to disturb. So don't touch or lean the wheelchair. Don't push or touch the wheelchair. Leaning or hanging on the person's wheelchair is similarly to leaning or hanging a person in a general consideration line. The chair is a part of personal body because they used to sit on them. So the chair is their personal. Like they are, it's like for them a personal kind of thing because they used to spend most of the time there. So it become a kind of personal thing for them. So this thing should be minded. Do not touch their, do not touch the chair until and unless they tell something, or do not lean on your posture. Don't do anything such kind of things which affect his mind and body. Listen them carefully. See this people who have a disability, they are deep thinker, they are great observers. So we need to listen them carefully. Listen attentively when you are talking to a person who has difficulty in speaking. Because the level that he or she is trying, we don't know what is the level, how, which kind of executive problem while speech having him or her. So we need to listen them carefully, be passionate and wait the person to finish rather than correcting or speaking whatever the person is. If necessary, you can ask short questions that require short answers. A nod or shake of heads. You can simply, your head you can shake. Never pretend to understand. Okay? If you have difficulty, so they'll be feeling very bad that you are, because when people show the false kind of things, they'll never understand you. So instead repeating you would understood, allow a person to respond. The response will give a clue to understanding. Right? Offer for help or assistance. So whenever you give offer for the help or assistance, people who have blind know orient themselves, so get around on the street, they are competent to travel as an assistant. So they make use of cans and they guide dogs. A person may have visual impairment that is not obvious, be prepared to offer assistance. For example, reading when asked, whenever they ask you for reading, you help them. It becomes so easy for them to understand, right? So disability etiquette is basically speaking clearly and slowly, or use body sign languages to hearing disabled. To get the attention of the person who is deaf, tap the person's on the shoulder, wave your hand, look directly at the person, speak clearly, slowly, expressively, and determine if the person can read your lips or not. Not all pupils of the deaf can read lips. For those who do not read the lips or those who does that, they have some more to touch. So light source can also help. Relax while assisting them, helping them. Be courteous, be having such a kind of things, motivation words that helps definitely. So whenever we deal with this, this physical activity for the disabled children, especially design programs needed, considering the types of disability. AP, especially adapted physical education, is about meeting the unique needs of individual student with disability. In AP, the instructors provide planning assessment, individual disability according to, so consultation with general physical education teachers, specially designed instructions, and adapt to modify the curriculum, task, equipment, environment, teacher, everything. Right? So to design such things, a meaningful, a beneficial structures, so many things are required. Right? So let's come, we'll understand the next thing, that is what are the strategies we need to understand when we do such kind of things. So before it we understand what is the role of the speech therapist, we understand what is the disability etiquette. It means a set of guidelines to approach to a disabled person. Next thing we are going to learn is APE, means the strategies for making physical activities accessible for children with special needs. As we all know, APE is adapted physical education. It has its own curriculum, study pattern to deal with the special children, to know them and to understand their needs. Active coordination to individual is needed. So activity according to the individual needs. So disability varies from person to person, level to level. So we need to understand the students, we need to understand the need of an individual, and we need to modify the things, modify the games, modify the rules accordingly. So being a physical education teacher, one should activity, this activity, whatever activities is going on, which should be according to the individual skill. Modified equipment, so equipment should be modified. If a person is blind, the modified equipment should be like that. If the person is having a limb problem, the equipment should be like that. Basically, the number of people are less, so we need to modify the equipment according to the need of the person and provide opportunity, learn them, allow them to do physical activities. Simple and easy as well as modified rule. So whenever they play, the things are so clear. Modifications are clear with the rules of the game. It should be so simple, it should be so easy. Simplify the things, simplify the instructions when given to the students. Motivate to participate fully. See, when the students, having such kind of problems as ongoing problems, so they are demotivated. So the work of the teacher is to motivate them, energize them, cultivate such kind of things in their mind that they can do something. Okay, so well instructed and trained in properly. So we need to train them properly, we need to instruct them properly what to do and what are the things which they have to understand. And encourage for spectators. So it is very important that there should be encouragement from the spectators so that they can understand. Suitable clean environment is very important. Say let's say the person and the environment is also clean, the ground conditions are according to the comfort zone of the children. It may be harmful for them because if there is something risk, why you take the risk for this kind of people? Let be safe and everything should be fine. Participation under the expert is very important because see this various problems are differ from person to person. So the participation is very important under the expert guidance, under the knowledge of a person who has a great knowledge about it. So that things can be understood properly and there will not be any problem while facing such kind of things. So basically what we need to understand now, we need to understand that if this activity is according to the individual's ability, as you can see on the board, please have a look on the board. So this activity of the individual is this physical activities are specially designed for them according to their abilities, according to their disability. Second thing is modification of the environment. So equipment should be specially designed and modified according to the individual needs. Simple and easy rules should be there. The physical activities for the disabled person should have simple and easy rules. Motivated facilitate them to participate freely. The activities designed for them should encourage the participants to participate freely and independently. Well instructed and trained properly. So one should instruct them and train them properly before you take the test or assessment or allow them to play. Let's have a demo or something kind of. So before participation, the practical, the physical activity should be well instructed. They should also be given sufficient training to practice the participation. Suitable environment. Suitable environment. So this activity should be participated in suitable environment, and this environment should be less of pollution, less noise, and so many things. Participation under experts. So as we have already understood that the participation should be under the expert's guidance, under the guidance of an expert one, so that the student can understand the work of thing. So I hope you all have cleared all the topics that we have discussed today. So we are discussing about this role of a speech therapist. So such language kind of person who have to speak properly, the language needs and so many things. So basically, speech and language therapists are concerned for the identification, assessment, support and speech language communication, and following needs of children and young. They work closely with the parents, nurses, occupational therapists, and doctors. Speech and language therapists, these are the roles of supporting the special need. S and C, a very important formula for kind of reform. Speech, language, and communication needs. Next thing, if we were dealing about this disability etiquettes, a set of guidelines which help an individual to understand or approach to disabled person. They should directly talk them, offer them, shake hands, will have them to explain the things, ask for them help, listen them carefully, and shake clearly whatever they want to tell us. AP adapted physical education to all of the curriculum, and there are some things which we hear for the understanding needs of an individual, like active participation, modification and equipment, simple easy rules, motivate them for participation, well instructed program, train them, encouragement, suitable clean environment, participation under experts. So with this, take care, bye. We'll meet soon with a new lecture. I hope you all understood today's topic. This was the last topic of today's session. In the next session, we will take a practical or something, a combination of this. So with this, take care, bye-bye. Lots of love and blessings to everyone. Okay, so do well, do learn, be ready always to learn so many things. And great day, have a good day everyone.